Hey! Today I'm going to go through the steps that I am taking for hydrating the powdered glazes that I've been buying. I'm going to be making my own glazes down the line, but for right now I decided I have so much wear, so I might as well just go with some commercial glazes to start out with, and it's been going really well. I've been using Spectrum glazes and buying them in powdered form in bulk in their 10-pound quantities and been hydrating them accordingly to their directions. So I got a lot of bisqued ware out of the kiln the other day, and I'm going to be glazing for the next day or so, and I need to mix some new glazes that I just got in the mail. So I decided I'd make a short little video about how I hydrate some of those and some of the quantities and balances that I figured out personally that have worked for my kiln and for my firing methods. So here, let's get started. Here are the materials that I use for mixing glazes. You'll need your powdered glazes, some buckets, I use 5 gallons, a sieve, this one's 80 mesh, a graduated cylinder, a digital scale, an electric drill with a paint mixing attachment or a jiffy blade, a bucket for measuring water, a good respirator to filter out airborne particles, and a notebook to keep track of your records. So I have a few different glazes that I'm going to be mixing today, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to take you through the steps of me mixing one of the batches. So one of them that I have is called Textured Autumn, is the glaze that one of them that I've been purchasing from Spectrum, which has been really wonderful. Here's what I have left over. It's not so much, we're pretty much at the bottom of the bucket here. So first I'm going to mix all of the glaze powder for the Textured Autumn with the right amount of water together in a separate bucket. And then I'm going to put it through the sieve to filter out any of the larger pieces that shouldn't be going through to the final batch of glaze. For each bag, this is 10 pounds of powdered glaze, and for each bag there's general tips that they provide you from the manufacturer about how much water to add. For this specific type, it says around 5 pints per bag. And since I have 3 bags, that's going to roughly be 15 pints of water, but I'm going to measure out the specific gravity, which is something that I tend to do just to have an extra spot of comparison, so I have more information to work from, and I'll go through those steps with you too. Alright, so now we're going to measure out roughly 15 pints of water. There's a little bit of leeway in the glazes that you can add the water to. You just need to be a little careful not to add too much water, because then you'll wash out all of the elements that are mixed within the glaze. So there's usually about 1 to 2 pints, at least for Spectrum, of leeway afterward. So I'm going to do just a little bit under 5 pints per bag and just be a little bit under 15 altogether, and then we'll measure the specific gravity afterwards to see how much more we might have to add. Alright, so let's get filling. So we got our roughly 15 pints there. So now we're ready to go put the glaze powder itself inside. And for that, now it's time to put the respirator on. And it's really good practice to have your respirator in a plastic bag or something like that, just to make sure that no air particles are, that have silica, which is the main thing that you're trying to filter out, or anything else from the clay and in the studio dust that might accumulate is going to be going in the respirator. So the plastic bag is really important for that reason, because otherwise you're just breathing in the stuff you don't want to that collects. Let's suit up. Alright, so I can already tell by looking at that the viscosity is a little bit too thick. So I know that I can safely add another pint. Let's do it. Okay. Alright, so now that I've mixed that well for several minutes, it's now ready to put in the sieve over the original batch of glaze that I have. So I'm going to put the sieve over the bucket and then pour in the newly mixed one, and we're going to see it slowly filter down. So now that I've mixed that glaze for several minutes, I'm ready to weigh it on the scale to find the specific gravity. So the specific gravity is important just because it lets us know how many particles are inside of the glaze in relationship to the amount of water that's inside of it. So if the number is way too high, you know that you need to deflocculate it by adding more water, typically is the first step, or there's other things like adding sodium silicate to your glaze to deflocculate it as well. And if your number's too low, that means that there's too much water inside and you need to let the glaze settle out a little bit, meaning separate from the top portion being water and the bottom being glaze, and then take off some of the water, and then you would remeasure after that. So here's a little bit of a record that I've been keeping of some of the glazes that I've been mixing and what they are pre-hydration and post-hydration. So meaning the water that I add after it's been sieved through. So the autumn is the glaze that we were just working on, and so the specific gravity that I've been going for is 156 grams, which was 1.56. Alright, so my scale's on and is set to grams, and here is 100 milliliters of the glaze. And let's see if you can read it. Mamma mia! So that is reading 210 grams. So that means I definitely need to add some more water. Alright, so I've added about 3 extra pints of water, and I stirred it up again, so let's see how much it weighs. Oh yeah, 156 exactly! We got it. Okay, so now I know that it's all good, and I'm going to take it and pour it right back in. And now I know I've got a perfect big batch. Alright, so thanks so much for joining me and spending some time glazing with me and mixing those up. And well, now I've really got a lot of work to get going on. So see you next time, and thank you again for watching.